Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
Can USA overtake Canada and get that gold, Joe?
Absolutely, they can here. And ultimately, it feels like that is the two-horse race. And I think ultimately, Canadians don't really care if their team competes in the luge or the bobsled, Donnie, or anything else. They just want that gold when it comes to ice hockey. And that is the only thing that's going to matter there.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
They cheated.
No, they're not saying
Right?
that. Well, they're not, but they're not really giving a reason on Kraft.
The only two of the voters I've seen, maybe it's more, came out and said why they didn't vote for him. And they said, I'm limited to 3 votes.
Yeah.
And I will always pick a player over a coach or an owner.
Right.
By the way, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because that's the guy saying, I'm not afraid of you knowing who I picked. I'm going to tell you why I picked him.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
But I will say, at 4.5 and over, I've been with covers for 20 plus years now. I've been betting for a long time. When it comes to 4 and 4.5 point spreads, if I'm looking at the favorite, I do not lay the points. I go straight to the money line, knowing that it's minus 200. This has been a no man's land for football betting in the NFL, basically since 2015, since they moved the point after touchdown back.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
It's on the Rise and Grind Radio on the Early Line, post-Super Bowl edition of the Early Line Radio on the Sports Grid Network. I'm Donnie Rightside. He's Joe Raniere. We got 2 hours to put a cap on the NFL season that was, which included the New England Patriots losing a 6th Super Bowl as opposed to winning a 7th Super Bowl. Why? The Seattle Seahawks 29-13 victory over the New England Patriots. You have that and much more. College basketball going to be fantastic this morning. Going into the NBA season, which includes the All-Star break coming up next weekend. I'm still frigid cold here in the Northeast, but it's our job, Joe Raniere, to get the people heated up post-Super Bowl Sunday.
Well, if you want something to be excited about on a Monday, then you don't have to look any further than what you got coming up tonight in college basketball, because Kansas at home taking on Arizona is worth the price of admission, Donnie. So at least we've got college hoops.
Boys, we're killing it. Friday was payday. Both myself and Joe hit our top plays of the day. We look to do that again right here on a Monday. More importantly, did you know tomorrow pitchers and catchers are going to report in Major League Baseball? Joe, what's that hot topic?
Well, Donnie, it's time to grab your coffee and wake up on this Monday. Assuming, of course, you didn't fall asleep on the couch last night watching that snooze fest known as the Super Bowl, because that might have been one of the most lackluster events I have seen in a very long time. Even last year, watching the Eagles demolish the Chiefs had more juice than whatever that was last night. The Seattle Seahawks are your world champions, and look, as a Jets fan, I am genuinely happy for Sam Darnold. He overcame the ghosts, he overcame the bad coaching in New York, Adam Gase, and he got a ring. And that is a great story. But the New England Patriots, the AFC, Mike Vrabel, Josh McDaniels, you guys had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. You knew you were facing a Mike McDonald defense that disguises everything, and that was your game plan, to play scared. I mean, Mike Vrabel, I love the guy. He played that game, Donnie, like it was a preseason scrimmage in August and not the Super Bowl. Let's look at a few of those decisions, shall we? Down 9-0, 4th and 3, you punt. Down 12-0, 4th and 1, you punt. And the absolute backbreaker, head scratcher, You finally score to make it 19-6 in the fourth quarter, and do you go for 2 to cut it to an 11-point game? Nope. You kick the extra point to stay down 12. That is math from the 1980s. You need 2 touchdowns anyway. Why not try to make it a game? Vrabel is supposed to be the guy, the CEO type of head coach, right? Doesn't call the offense, doesn't call the defense. Well, the CEO certainly bankrupted the company last night. And Josh McDaniels, you hung your young quarterback out to dry. That offensive line was getting abused. No adjustments, no quick game, no moving the pocket, just Drake May running and getting hit. Speaking of Drake May, those of you that thought he got robbed for the MVP, let me just say this. Yeah, be thankful the voting is done before the playoffs start. The Patriots defense, they belong. They played their hearts out, but that offense was disgusting. Did anybody even know Matt Collins was on the team anymore? I think most people were surprised. They said, what, who? Hollins? Yeah, all I know is this, Donnie. Somewhere in Buffalo, Josh Allen was punching a hole in the wall, wondering, how in the hell did this Patriots team represent the AFC? Honestly, we all complained about the refs rigging game for the Chiefs. Yeah, I'd rather watch Patrick Mahomes get phantom penalties in nail-biter games as opposed to, well, watching a team do what the AFC champion New England Patriots did last night. So happy Monday. The season is over, Donnie, but more importantly, thankfully, so is that game.
Yeah, got robbed. They got a blowout victory last year by the Eagles. A little bit more aesthetically pleasing because one team was actually running it up early in the game. This one was just a stall fest here that did not see a touchdown scored until the fourth quarter. And also understand this. That's why we love handicapping, right? Like Drake May is one of my prop bets over 215.5. I said, this is the worst bet I may have ever made because there's no way he can do it. Then he throws 100 yards in the fourth quarter. And also, if you're an underbacker, you nailed this game from start to finish, only to absolutely sweat it out in the fourth quarter. That's what makes some of these games great, even if the scoreboard isn't great. The Seahawks, certainly the better team, 29-13. We'll talk more about that throughout this edition of the early line. Let's get to the early lineup, which does include the Seattle Seahawks picking up their second Super Bowl trophy and dominating effort here over the Patriots, 29-13. Darnold didn't have to do much. 202 yards passing, 1 touchdown here. Kenneth Walker was fantastic as he's been all the way through the playoffs. 27 carries for 135. He was named the MVP, but it was that defense, the Legion of Boom, back in the day, turned into the dark side now of 2025, 2026. They deserve the real MVP, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it was a great game plan, and kudos to the Seahawks. But anytime, Donnie, that, we got a running back that's your MVP for the first time since, Terrell Davis, but I could have made the case for your kicker to be the MVP. Yeah. That is how well that game went across the board, Donnie, where the kicker was very much in the conversation for MVP.
By the way, we talk a lot about the prediction markets here on the show and also PME, which airs on Saturday and Sunday right here on the network. Take a look at Lindsey Vonn. Crashed, unbelievable. She was able to still even try to go down on downhill skis there on an ACL, but there were some marketplaces that you could bet against her winning a gold medal, let alone finishing the races here. Shout out to her for giving it all, but a nasty crash, which basically ends her Olympics and probably ends her career, Joe.
And it's crazy because the crash had really nothing to do with the ACL. Yeah. It had to do with her pole getting caught in a fence there before she was about to make that first jump. She looked great in the qualifying runs, right, Donnie? The day before she nailed it. Like, she was actually going to do this at 41 years old and a torn ACL. And you know what? It just unfortunate the way it happened there. And there's no point after the fact saying, she shouldn't have been allowed out there. That's just ridiculous.
By the way, I went skiing one time in my life. Absolutely terrifying, extremely hard to do. I understand if you're good at it, it might be fun, but going 100 miles an hour down the double diamonds, as we say, or triple diamonds, good luck to those skiers, man. They do amazing things, and they put their lives in their hands each and every time they go down those hills here. Mac Jones looks like he's going to stay in the Bay Area here and be the backup quarterback here to Brock Purdy because it's apparent. When you have Brock Purdy, he is injury prone. Need a good backup. Mac Jones is a good backup.
Well, if I'm Mac Jones, right? You haven't looked as good as you have looked with Shanahan there calling the plays for you. So not a bad way to go. Plus, we already know Purdy doesn't exactly have a history of staying healthy, Donnie.
Hey, James Pierce, congratulations on your rookie season. How do you do it? Basically trying to get yourself kicked out of the NFL. The only thing I can say is, James Pierce, get ready to learn Bengal and get ready to learn Cowboy here. That's your next football team.
Just unbelievable, Donnie. That story was blowing up here in Florida, and I was like, did the guy try to run over a cop, too, in his Lamborghini? Like, what is going on here? Unbelievable.
Hey, if you can sack the quarterback and you're still young and basically cheap, those teams will be like, hey, you know what? We can't give up on this kid here. We're going to love him up and get him some help. We'll see how that one works out. How about North Dakota State University rising to the occasion, Joe? They want a piece of the puzzle moving up here to Division 1A.
About time, right? I mean, why not? Go get some of that money now. I mean, you've certainly competed at that level for how long, Donnie, at the top of the game. It's time to move up to the big boys now.
How about moving up to the big boys? UNC with a big comeback victory over the rival Duke on Saturday. They had to pay $50,000. They stormed the court. Yeah, that'll be a simple check. Maybe Jordan will write that check for him.
Yeah, and Duke's John Shire, of course, still crying. Every time somebody storms the court, it's amazing. Like, oh, my coaches are getting punched. Like, oh, just keep it down. Be quiet.
Team USA gets that gold medal in team figure skating here. What is it? The quad god pulled out a nice little victory here. Love to see it. Team USA grabs a gold medal.
Yeah, I got a couple of them now, so that's it. But, you know, we're all waiting for that hockey, that Team USA hockey to get rolling this week.
That is going to be fantastic to watch that play out because you know Team USA versus Canada going to be that gold versus silver matchup that we all love. We're just getting started. It's a Super Bowl Monday, not a Sunday, people. We got a lot more on the way. Stay tuned right here on the Early Line.
Selling it to a minority ownership group that could show the NFL is moving in the right direction. Hey, it's one thing to talk about black coaches in the National Football League. It's one thing to talk about black general managers. It's another thing to start talking about a minority owner owning the football team.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio. Only on SportsGrid.
They actually play Miami and nobody else. Bum after bum after bum. Now, the key ingredient to this clause, though, Joe, college football undefeated season. Oh, no, wait, Donnie. You go undefeated in the regular season, you got to win like 4 games to win that championship. No, you don't. It's regular season. Notre Dame, the kings of duck, and say, hey, we're going to play the easiest schedule ever. They got it.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
The money line keeps climbing, though, if you'll notice.
Yes.
The point spread hasn't moved. It's been locked in at 4.5. The money line, though, keeps creeping up, man. It was 210, and it's funny because normally you figure the number will be correlated, right? It's like, all right, the money line, the point spread's this, that means the money line is that, which tells us there's a lot of money line plays coming in on Seattle.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
He completed a pool bank shot at just 2 years and 302 days. His achievements make him one of the youngest double record holders ever. So let me summarize this for you without reading. He's 2 years old, and he's really good at pool. I mean, that is crazy. 2 years old! How is he doing this? I have no idea. So I guess we got to start training our youngsters to play pool. Okay, fair enough.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
It's the Early Line on a Monday, post-Super Bowl Sunday. But now we got to get to some of those spread lines that make the most sense and get you involved here, whether it's the NBA, whether it's the NCAA. We're going to have fun doing it. And no, we're not going to start the show as we've done for the last 2 weeks, Joe, and tell you that there was no movement on the Super Bowl. It stayed at 4.5. There was no movement on the total at 45.5. Let's get to college basketball. Let's get to St. John's here, one of the best teams in the Big East. Xavier taking on St. John's Sun, a 14.5 6-point favorite for the Johnnies at home, and a total of 162.5. Big East basketball. Xavier on the road to take on the Johnnies tonight at 6:30.
Well, 16 days ago, right, we got a chance to see this game, and it was also Pitino, the elder Pitino's 900th win, but it wasn't easy as he had to do it up against, of course, his son there who's coaching at Xavier. But now you've got a St. John's team here, Donnie, that is coming off maybe the biggest win in the program in a very long time as they just took down UConn in a battle. Actually, they did it rather easily, too. Now, is it a letdown game against Xavier? Can Xavier come in and handle business here? Because they came close to doing it 16 days ago, Donnie. It wouldn't shock me if this game is a lot closer than what people think it's going to be.
Oh, we got a good one tonight, too. And look at this. Like, sometimes, Joe, the star is just a line, right? Like, you're mourning maybe that football season is over, and NCAA basketball is like, no. No hangover. We got you tonight. How about a 9 p.m. game from the Fog tonight with Arizona and Kansas, a battle in the Big 12 here. You take a look at this side. Open up overnight, Joe, around -1.5 as a favorite towards Arizona. Most outlets now are showing -2.5 as a favorite towards Arizona. The road team here, and a total of 151.5. You take a look at the matchups here. Arizona is sensational on defense. Number 1 in efficiency in conference play. They defend the three-point line. They defend inside the arc. This is going to be a great game to watch you play out, Joe. Arizona, Kansas. What's that spread line for you tonight?
And this is going to go a long way to figuring out, who's going to take down the Big 12 championship, right? Who's going to be the team? I mean, Houston is not going anywhere, not making life easy on Arizona. And now Arizona's got to go to Kansas. And the big question is going to remain, Donnie, how long does Darren Peterson play? Does he play? Or does he just sit on the bench because he doesn't feel like playing 35 minutes of basketball, which is likely what it's going to take for Kansas to have to beat Arizona, even in Fog Allen. There is no question with Peterson on the court, they are a 4-time better offensive basketball team than with him out on the court. So to me, this is all depending on whether or not he plays, how much he plays, and how far he is willing to push himself, because it's going to take everything Kansas has in order to take down Arizona in this game.
Let's get to the MVC, and I think I'm smelling some offense tonight here between Belmont and Bradley, Joe. This line overnight opened up at 2.5. We're still sitting at 2.5 as a favorite to the road team, Belmont. Bradley is the home team here, and a total listed at 154.5. Belmont's offense, number 1 in efficiency in the MVC. Fantastic from three-point range. Number 1 in conference play, almost 42% as a team. Inside the arc, Joe, number 1 in conference play, almost 60% as a team inside the arc. But how about this? Bradley's offense, Joe, number 2 in efficiency from three-point range, shooting close to 37% as a team. There's 11 teams in the MVC. You know who lets you shoot the most amount of three-point shots per possession? It is Belmont. Could we get offense tonight, or is it going to be a cover and a road victory for Belmont? What's your spread line tonight, Joe, on this one?
Well, Belmont already won by double digits earlier, back on January 1st, in fact, New Year's Day. They already beat them at home by 10. Now they get them again, and this is your typical Belmont team, right? This is a team that is not going to do it defensively. They are just going to shoot teams out of the gym, and that is what they've been doing in the Mo Valley the entire season. 17-3 in conference play here, 27-4. And listen, Bradley, Murray State, Illinois State, they're running through them all. And if they continue to do that, an at-large bid, Donnie, is way a reality now here for this Belmont team. So I wouldn't bet against them, I'll tell you that.
10 games in the association tonight. We're going to start at 9 o'clock in Elevation. That's out in the Mile High City. The Denver Nuggets at home taking on the Cleveland Cavaliers. Great setup tonight. Slight favorite overnight, -1.5 at some outlets for the Cavaliers. A lot of outlets now down to -1 as a favorite for the road team here, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Harden's in town. The total is 237.5 as it's risen from that graphic of 235.5. Cavaliers and the Nuggets tonight, Joe. What's that spread line for you?
Yeah, I know. We're all so it's great, right? Now James Harden's going to take the Cavs to the championship. Like, settle down. You beat Sacramento, okay? Now you're going into Denver here, which is going to be a little bit of a different challenge than the Kings were here. The reality is, listen, Denver lost at a tough road trip there. They lost a couple of games, one in double overtime to the Knicks. They should have beaten Detroit in that game and didn't get it done, but they did bounce back in a big way there. They got off the schneid. They had a 3-game losing streak, and they just won their last game, Donnie. So I do like Denver at home here. It looks like no more rust is an issue for the Joker. If they can stay healthy, I think Denver the rest of the way is not going anywhere anytime soon.
Pistons and the Hornets still do battle at 7 o'clock tonight from Charlotte. This line overnight, Joe, a lot of outlets had -2s here. Now we're seeing as high in the marketplace at -3.5 as a favorite towards the road team, the Detroit Pistons. The total of this game is 223.5. Pistons, Hornets. And by the way, Hornets playing some good basketball as of late, Joe. What's your spread line here?
9 in a row, Donnie. They're going for 10 in a row here in this game. And the market just kept hammering Atlanta in their last game, thinking there's no way Charlotte's going to win again. Well, they won again. And guess what? Now they're home. And listen, Charlotte keeps playing this way, then these two teams might be facing against one another one more time come the postseason. So should be a good one. Charlotte is at home here. The Pistons, though, some injury concerns. Is Durn going? Is he not? Figure out who's in for Detroit here tonight. But I'd give the Hornets a puncher's chance in a big way in this game.
Also, now that we're riding up on the All-Star break and also post-trade deadline right now, the haves and the have-nots have never been bigger in the NBA. Literally, a third of the league is actively tanking on a night-to-night basis. Might you change your strategy, people? We might talk about that just a little bit later here. We'll be right back to the early line post-Super Bowl Monday. Let's get back to the Super Bowl. What actually happened in that game?
How about selling it to a minority ownership group that could show the NFL is moving in the right direction? Hey, it's one thing to talk about black coaches in the National Football League. It's one thing to talk about black general managers. It's another thing to start talking about a minority owner owning the football team.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio. Only on SportsGrid.
They actually play Miami and nobody else. Bum after bum after bum. Now, the key ingredient to this clause, though, Joe, college football undefeated season. Ooh, no, wait, Donnie. You undefeated in the regular season. You got to win like 4 games to win that championship. No, you don't. It's regular season. Notre Dame, the kings of duck, and saying, hey, we're going to play the easiest schedule ever. They got it.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
The money line keeps climbing, though, if you'll notice.
Yes.
The point spread hasn't moved. It's been locked in at 4.5. The money line, though, keeps creeping up, man. It was 210, and it's funny because normally you figure the number would be correlated, right? It's like, all right, the money line, the point spread's this, that means the money line is that, which tells us there's a lot of money line plays coming in on Seattle.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
He completed a pool bank shot at just 2 years and 302 days. His achievements make him one of the youngest double record holders ever. So let me summarize this for you without reading. He's 2 years old, and he's really good at pool. I mean, that is crazy. 2 years old! How is he doing this? I have no idea. So I guess we got to start training our youngsters to play pool. Okay, fair enough.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Super Bowl 60, Santa Clara. Let's put a bookmark on this one. Why? The Seattle Seahawks have won their 2nd Super Bowl in franchise history. The New England Patriots are looking for their 7th Super Bowl win in franchise history. Final score, Seattle 29, New England Patriots 13. Now, when we take a look at this game, Joe, leading up to the Super Bowl, it's important to let the people know. heavy public action on the Seattle Seahawks. But that line really didn't move. 4.5 at the opener. We saw little fives like within the first 24 hours, but they quickly went back to 4.5. And just keeping tabs on it yesterday, I thought there might have been a chance that we could have seen -5s or even maybe a move to -4. We didn't get that. The primary number at kickoff, Joe, was 4.5 and a total of 45.5. Let's start here with this game. Public likes Seattle, and by far, Seattle was the much better team from start to finish, Joe, in this football game.
And they were, and it turned out to be chalky in the end. But, you know, how they were even in the game, Donnie, at the break is beyond me, not having scored any points and being down 9-0. But if you had an under ticket last night and you were watching that after the break, you were already counting your money and going, yep, we're good to go. And then you had to sit there and sweat it out late, which was absolutely crazy. But once the game got out of hand, all of a sudden you saw Seattle start to go a little more prevent there, and that was the end of that. But this game was never in doubt for Seattle from the get-go.
Yeah, you just take a look at the game itself and you look at the quarterbacks, right? Because they were the big question marks coming in. The one thing we always said was like, oh, Sam Darnold, and he was phenomenal in the NFC Championship game, that win over the Rams. Could he do it again on the biggest stage? Well, it turns out he didn't really need to do that. They let him throw the ball 38 times, didn't turn the football over with any interceptions. They'll take that. But the fact of the matter was, you watched that first half with the New England Patriots and Drake May, and you said to yourself, like, the Patriots defense is keeping them in it, and they can't do anything to turn the momentum, sustain drives, put any points on the board, and we're getting shut out into the fourth quarter. Drake May, just look for, I don't know if it was too big a stage for Drake May, because then we find out that he's taken shots in his shoulder before the game to get loosened up there, probably couldn't feel it all that well, and it looked that way. He had guys wide open the majority of the night, and I'm not saying like every play was open, but there were plays to be made, and Drake May early just couldn't make those plays, Joe, to turn the tide in that game.
No, he was, he was under duress, and we knew that. But it just, you could see, it was like he looked like a deer caught in the headlights. That's exactly what he looked like, Donnie. And quite honestly, he missed a number of throws that, were easy throw and catch. And he just rushed it. He did not look comfortable at all. He looked like a guy that was playing in his first big game. But if we're being honest, hindsight 2020 here, but the Patriots got to that game, in spite of the way he played in the postseason, because it wasn't great, and it turns out it had nothing to do with the weather after all.
Yeah, take a look at some of those, pressured 19 times in that Super Bowl, 10 off-target passes, which is a career high for Drake May. He was under siege, but certainly didn't help out. Again, plays were to be made out there, and he wasn't able to do that. You flip it over to Sam Darnold, who, again, only threw for 202 yards here. He had a lot of chances early in that game, and if everybody remembers the Jackson Smith and Jigba play, where it's sort of a broken play where it comes wide open, you loft that football out there. That's a 70-plus yard touchdown pass, and that breaks the game open. He wasn't able to do that. A couple chances to Rashid Shaheed weren't able to come through as well. But you just take a look at Drake May. Like, I had Drake May over 215.5 passing yards. Should have been dead in the water, but you get that fourth quarter, he's just throwing nonstop here. And the best part about that was, for me, Joe, is I probably thought I was going to get shut out of that. He throws the pick six, which allowed him to get the football right back and stack more yards up. So he easily goes over his number. But Sam Darnold, we talked about, Joe, 225.5 all week long. He stays well under that because why? Kenneth Walker III was great. 27 carries, 135, 5 yards per carry. Needed the runs when he got them, and he did it. MVP.
No, he had 94 yards in the first half, Donnie. There wasn't really, that was the story there. But, when you look at him in this postseason run, that's what they wanted to be. That's what they were They were a run-first team. They ran the ball at a higher percentage than anybody else in the NFL. They wanted to avoid Sam Darnold making the game-changing interception or turnover, even though he led the league in turnovers this year as a quarterback. And that's exactly the way he played. That's exactly what Seattle did. And the game plan was spot on for McDonald and for the Seahawks, which is why he's holding a trophy and now gets his ring.
Like you could tell early on. Sometimes like you figured like this game is probably going to play out a certain way. They were absolutely destroying that offensive line of the New England Patriots here. When Will Campbell, 2 out of like the first 4 plays, was absolutely brutalized and knocked into Sam Darnold. He said, "Ooh, how's this going to hold up?" Exactly the way you thought it would. A shutout through 3 quarters. More Super Bowl talk coming up next right on the early line. Don't miss out. We'll be back after this short break.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
Can USA overtake Canada and get that gold, Joe?
Absolutely, they can here. And ultimately, it feels like that is the 2-horse race. And I think ultimately, Canadians don't really care if their team competes in the luge or the bobsled, Donnie, or anything else. They just want that gold when it comes to ice hockey. And that is the only thing that's going to matter there.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
They cheated.
No, they're not saying
Right?
that. Well, they're not, but they're not really giving a reason on crap.
The only two of the voters I've seen, maybe it's more, came out and said why they didn't vote for him. And they said, I'm limited to 3 votes.
Yeah.
And I will always pick a player over a coach or an owner.
Right.
By the way, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because that's the guy saying, I'm not afraid of you knowing who I picked. I'm going to tell you why I picked him.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
But I will say at 4.5 and over, I've been with covers for 20 plus years now. I've been betting for a long time. When it comes to 4 and 4.5 point spreads, if I'm looking at the favorite, I do not lay the points. I go straight to the money line, knowing that it's minus 200. This has been a no man's land for football betting in the NFL, basically since 2015, since they moved the point after touchdown back.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Joe, I thought Kenneth Walker was really good in this game, sustaining that ground game early. Sam Darnold was a little bit shaky and really got them the lead, right? 3 points in the first quarter, a couple field goals in the second quarter. You take the lead 9-0 entering in the half, but at least you knew you could build on that running game. The New England Patriots couldn't do that here. Their offensive line was getting abused, some exotic blitz calls throwing them off. The young rookie left tackle really struggling out there, and also from the running game. Stevenson, 7 carries for 37 yards under his total. Now, Travion Henderson, depending on what number you got, did sneak over his rushing total, but he was under 20 yards as well. When you're looking at a game that's going to be close with shaky quarterbacks, it's nice to have that bell cow. And you take a look at Kenneth Walker, 27 carries, 135 yards. And by the way, it was the correct holding call at the end of the game, which I know a lot of people had tickets, touchdown tickets there on Kenneth Walker, included in parlays. The total in the game was up in the air. It was the right call. But let's just say that call isn't made. And he has like 28 carries for $175 and a touchdown. One of the better all-time performances by a running back in the biggest game of the season. But Walker did his job, man. You saw Zach Charbonnet go down. He really handled that bell cow load.
Yeah, he did. I mean, and we were talking about it, Donnie. I mean, and kudos to Jason Myers, who might have had the best season of his career. And this is a guy that's been doing it for a very long time. But he sets a Super Bowl record for 5 field goals to go along. So Sam Darnold didn't have to do a whole heck of a lot, given the fact that Myers was spot on. And, you know, you've got Walker basically almost at the century mark at the half. And then from that point on, it was just don't give the Patriots an opportunity to get back into it. And that's exactly what they did. And Sam Darnold, to his credit, you know, he missed some throws. He was fortunate on some others, but he made some throws. And listen, what he didn't do was turn the ball over, which is exactly what they were trying to avoid. And wouldn't you know it, they're Super Bowl champions.
Here's what I like to talk about as well, because this is a very interesting topic. I call it like the LeBron James clause. And the reason why I say that is LeBron James doesn't get any credit for going to, let's just say, 10 NBA finals. Now, granted, it was like 4 and 6 in NBA finals, whatever it is. But like, they talk about like Michael Jordan. Hey, 6-0 in the NBA finals. Well, what happened like the other 15 years or whatever for him? He didn't get there, but you don't get discredited for that. It's almost like if you get to a Super Bowl or an NBA finals and you don't win it, oh, that's going to be a real black mark. Because now you have the New England Patriots with another loss in the Super Bowl, which is 6, which is all time. Is it a badge of honor? Say, well, we've played in 12, or now do we do the LeBron James thing? Say, well, you lost 6, so that erases any goodwill that you had.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, now listen, the good news is glass is half full here, Donnie, because a lot of these guys, I mean, they said it even last night. And by the way, kudos to Mike Tirico, who this, I believe, was his first in the chair opportunity to call a Super Bowl game. And it was maybe the worst game that you could possibly have there, but he did a really good job. And he brought up, the fact that no other team, I mean, you're talking about over 40 guys, 50 guys on his team for the first time. They ran the table and made it to the Super Bowl. So when you consider where they were a year ago to where they are now, and that Drake May is only 23 years old, they've got to build up the offensive line. But that, Donnie, to me, was a legit defense. That's a legit Super Bowl defense there that the Patriots have. Now they got to just figure some of the other things out, and they'll have the cap space to do it because they'll have Drake May locked up for another couple of years here on that rookie deal.
Yeah, no doubt about it. How about this from Bleacher Report? Sam Darnold is the first quarterback from his stacked draft class to win a Super Bowl. And this looks even worse for teams like the Minnesota Vikings and the New York Jets. Like, was he the end-all, be-all in this game? No, he wasn't. But you still needed a very good season from Sam Darnold to get to the Super Bowl, which again included the NFC Championship game, which basically was the Super Bowl. He was phenomenal. He got them there. He didn't blow it on the biggest stage, and now he's a Super Bowl champion.
Yeah, and that's exactly it, Donnie, right? I mean, it's easier said than done, right? I mean, don't be the reason. It's kind of hard because you're going to be like, don't be the reason we lose the Super Bowl. But at the same time, you might have to be the reason we win it. Not great here for Sam Darnold, who was trying to, get rid of all of those ghosts and silence all the critics, Donnie. And listen, he wasn't the MVP. He didn't need to be Superman, right? Although they needed him against the Rams, didn't they, in order to get to this game? So he did his part, very much a part of why they are Super Bowl champions. They just didn't need him to do a whole lot in this game.
I'll tell you what the great thing about it, too, is another tweet here. The 2025 Seattle Seahawks overcame 60-1 preseason odds to win the Super Bowl. When you look at the roster construction, it's a very good defense here. It has capabilities on offense to move it. But make no mistake about it. They were 60-1, not because of their team construction. They were 60-1 because they had Sam Darnold at quarterback. Nice guy, no chance at winning. Biggest games is going to fail, and that's not going to work out. How about that, though? 60-1 to start the season. With the way you saw the season play out, all the way through, Seattle's one of the best teams in the NFL. Number 1 seed heading into the playoffs here. No fluke victories here and champions. It's hard to believe they were, Joe, 60-1 to start the season.
Yeah, and it all because of the quarterback, right? And, everyone looked at Sam Darnold. And listen, the betting markets did the same for Sam Darnold for the majority of the season. There's no way I can back Sam Darnold. No way I can trust Sam Darnold. And the fact that he threw, 20 picks or turned it over 20 times this year, Donnie, it didn't help the betting markets get any more comfortable with this Seattle team. And then all of a sudden, he started to earn it a little bit here. And that performance, by the way, against the Rams might have been one of the all-time greatest and a big reason as to why they are Super Bowl champions right now.
And what a way to go out as well. Clint Kubiak puts a ring on his finger, then slides over to be the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. Didn't seem like it bothered him all that much because you always get this, hey, this guy already took a head coaching job. How invested is he in this football team? Well, thank goodness he has a great defense as well, but he is now a Super Bowl champion and moving on to be the Raiders head coach.
And kudos, right? So now, Seattle, for the most part, actually is in good shape also, right? Because they've got a lot of those guys on both sides of the ball locked up here, so they'll be able to turn it back. But like most Super Bowl champions, Donnie, and you know this is an Eagles, right? There is going to be some attrition in the coordinator room. So we're going to see what Seattle does here. And what does McDonald do? Who replaces them? Are they going to be just as effective? We're going to find out here. Don't forget, his first year as the OC here in Seattle, and he ran it, and boy, did they run it well right to a Super Bowl championship.
Yeah, by the way, a lot of fans, a lot of superstars in the crowd. Lewis Hamilton, Kim Kardashian at the Super Bowl, but also, Joe, like it used to be you watch the Super Bowl for 3 parts. Yes, you love the football. Yes, you love the halftime show, or at least you were intrigued by it, wanted to watch it. And you also love the commercials. Like when you were at parties, it was like, okay, nobody go, oh, okay, quiet. The commercials are on. Well, whatever. Like you're paying so much for these commercials now. And there was maybe one decent one last night, which is the Dunkin' Donuts commercial. But as my kid would watch it, be like, I don't know who any of these people on the TV screen are. At least that one was decent for me. But man, it used to be like the commercial is here. Sit down and watch them. No longer the case for me.
Yeah, I mean, and are we even watching them with the sound on half the time, Donnie? We got other things going on. It's like, and quite honestly, I cannot wait to see what the ratings are for this, because we talked about it. You know, there was no Swifties tuning in last night for that broadcast. And judging by the score at the half, I don't know how many people came back for the second half, Donnie. I really don't.
And by the way, coming back to Los Angeles next year is the Super Bowl. That's Super Bowl 61 before it gets back to the East Coast in Atlanta and then goes back to Vegas. I'll say this one thing. Like most of us weren't out there for the Super Bowl. And thank goodness that we weren't. Like Super Bowl cities are supposed to make it easy on media and easy on fans to watch the game and participate in the activities. That was a travesty. What happened is they called it the Bay Area Super Bowl, where you were routinely in a car for an hour and a half to 2 hours just to get the media outlets here. Didn't make much sense. Get it back to the cities that know how to actually host a Super Bowl, and it looks like they will be doing that.
Exactly. Let's give it time, but they've got to go ahead and run these out. The contracts and the money have already been exchanged here, Donnie. Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, all that money you're getting from the public here. Where in San Jose? Stop it here. Tom Vecchio joins us here to talk little Super Bowl action next.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
Can USA overtake Canada and get that gold, Joe?
Absolutely, they can here. And ultimately, it feels like that is the 2-horse race. And I think ultimately, Canadians don't really care if their team competes in the luge or the bobsled, Donnie, or anything else. They just want that gold when it comes to ice hockey. And that is the only thing that's going to matter there.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
They cheated.
No, they're not saying
Right?
that. Well, they're not, but they're not really giving a reason on crap.
The only two of the voters I've seen, maybe it's more, came out and said why they didn't vote for him. And they said, I'm limited to 3 votes.
Yeah.
And I will always pick a player over a coach or an owner.
Right.
By the way, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because that's the guy saying, I'm not afraid of you knowing who I picked. I'm going to tell you why I picked him.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
But I will say at 4.5 and over, I've been with covers for 20 plus years now. I've been betting for a long time. When it comes to 4 and 4.5 point spreads, if I'm looking at the favorite, I do not lay the points. I go straight to the money line, knowing that it's minus 200. This has been a no man's land for football betting in the NFL, basically since 2015, since they moved the point after touchdown back.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Super Bowl Sunday officially in the books here. Super Bowl 60 on to Super Bowl 61 next year. Donnie right side, Joe Raniero. Let's welcome in Tom Vecchio here. Post Super Bowl coverage, Tom. 29-13 was the final. The Seattle Seahawks getting their second Lombardi trophy, favored by 4.5, easily covered that total, but also the total in this game should have been an easy under that turned into a melee in the fourth quarter that saw 30 points and could have had a rushing touchdown by superstar Kenneth Walker, MVP. That could have changed money in a lot of situations here, Tom. How we feel about that Super Bowl? Welcome into the show, man.
It was okay. I think like it ended on a good note. Like if we got what we got in the fourth quarter, the entirety of the game, it probably would have been one of the best Super Bowls we've seen. But it was a really rough go of things. Joe and I were live last night at halftime, and it was a tough game, especially for the Pats side of things. And a lot of people are going to talk about their schedule. A lot of people are going to be talking about Seattle and their defense. Like it's a combination of both things. The Pats weren't like they didn't have some trial by fire to get to the Super Bowl, and the Seahawks defense was unbelievable.
Yeah, you needed to make some of those plays early in the game, and New England just looked so disjointed here. It was like, can we just take snaps and, not turn the football over and give it back 9-0 at the half? And also understand this, too. One of those situations where Seattle understood the task at hand. Just don't turn the football over. Let's just kick field goals. We should be okay. So a lot of us, bitching and moaning on bets in the first half. I ended up 2-2 because I Drake May over 215.5. No idea how he finished with 295, but that fourth quarter was absolutely insane. But the one I kept looking at was like Sam Darnold, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. Chances to have big plays, they just couldn't connect. And Darnold finished was a 202. I had Darnold to throw over 1.5 touchdown passes. He only threw the one here. What did you think out of the quarterback play from both sides last night, Tom?
I said to Joe at halftime last night, the game reminded me of the Pats game versus the Broncos, right? As long as they didn't make mistakes, the Seahawks, they would win the game. And that's ultimately what it got down to. Like they had the Pats beyond arm's reach, and Drake May got there because of attrition. He looked terrible. Throwing touchdowns on a lot of yards because you have to is not always a good thing. Pocket presence, the protection, the sacks were all horrible for him. Sam Darnold did what he needed to do, and honestly, credit to him, getting this, off his back. There's no more jokes about him seeing ghosts. He's a Super Bowl champ, and he deserves it.
Yeah. What'd you think of the coaching by the Patriots, though, Tom? Because there were some opportunities there. It felt like they were playing with house money, and you had nothing to lose, but we're punting. We're not going for it on 4th and 2. We're not going for 2 point. Like it just felt like they were being conservative at a time when you didn't need to be conservative. You needed somebody to make a play and get some momentum.
Right. And like, I don't want to say like it seemed like they got to a point and the moment was too big where like they couldn't show up. Like if you have the coach of the year and the, MVP runner up, those are the type of plays that you should be trusting those guys to make. Like you have to be able to convert 4th down, and you have to have a play that gets you 2 yards. You need to go for 2 to then set you up to get a touchdown and a field goal, which would have put them down by 11 after they scored that touchdown, in the coaching. So I almost want to say like the Pats were here a year early. Like they had a pretty easy path. There was no Lamar Jackson. There was no Mahomes. There was no Joe Burrow. And they overexceeded expectations. They weren't ready for the moment. If you tell me next year they go to the AFC Championship and they lose, the following year, I think they'd be primed for a Super Bowl because they didn't have the battles to get here, and they have to learn from those mistakes.
And how dominant they were, too. Like Jackson Smith and Jigba barely even involved. They got a lot of targets early, then gets injured, check for a concussion, comes back. But if you would have told me, Tom, 4 catches, 27 yards, like, whoa, Patriots probably at least got that cover, if not one. But that shows you how dominant that Seattle defense was here, Tom. Let's flip it over to the Olympics, the Winter Olympics here, because hockey and how dominant Team USA can be, particularly in the first rounds, and also can they get a gold medal. If we take a look here, Tom, first off, let's start here. A little men's ice hockey action coming up. USA, I believe, versus Latvia, Thursday at 3:10 Eastern, minus 2,100 as a favorite towards Team USA. How do you play this game?
They're super heavy favorites. You can't even lay the puck in a half. That's minus 550. I want to look for a goal scorer, at least based on the lines that I've seen throughout their first practice. I want to go to Jake Gensel on that top line. He's going to be alongside Austin Matthews, who's named captain of Team USA, and Matt Boldy. The defense is obviously going to be worried about every single player, but given the odds that we're getting Jake Gensel at plus 140, I really like his spot. We could look to the second line with both Kachuk brothers and Jack Eichel. We could be looking there. There's also some interest for me when it comes to the Finland game, if we want to get into that one right now.
Jude, go ahead. Run it down for us here. Yep.
Let's get to Finland versus Slovakia. That's Wednesday at 10:40, so that's a little bit earlier. Let's turn to Mikko Rantanen from Finland. He's their Connor McDavid, essentially. So he's on that top line. The fact that we're getting plus money with him shocked me. I thought he was going to be at minus 110. Now, granted, he's only at plus 130. It's not some dramatic difference, but he's playing on a line with Roope Hintz, a player he's teammates with from the Dallas Stars. They don't play necessarily on the same line the entire time, but this is also a situation where Finland is arguably the fourth best team in the world, and they are expected to advance. They're still missing their best player, Sasha Barkov. So Finland needs to run up the score. Slovakia is probably going to be starting Adam Gagin in net, who is the goalie for Minnesota Duluth. So if Mikko Rantanen, who's one of the best goal scorers in the NHL, he should be able to get one across against this defense and this goalie.
Let's take a look at the women's side of things here, Tom. USA and Switzerland today. That's going to take place at 2:40 Eastern, a minus 4,500 on the money line for Team USA. Czechia plays Canada, Tom, but also, as I just scroll down to look tomorrow, 2:10 p.m. Eastern, USA and Canada tomorrow. So how do you play these games with USA and Canada against separate teams and then folding it into USA versus Canada women's?
Honestly, I think both USA and Canada want to run up the score today because the seeding for the women's is different. There's only two groups. So they need to have that goal differential to have the better seeding when it comes to the playoffs. So honestly, the spreads for today's games, the puck lines, I should say, for today's games, both teams run it up. They win, they cover, all these sorts of things. And then the under tomorrow. It's only 5.5, but if you can get a 6 or 6.5 out there, I would love that for tomorrow's game, USA versus Canada in the women's.
There we go. Gotta love it here. A little hockey talk over there overseas. Milan Cortino, also the Super Bowl now in the books, Tom. But I gotta ask you a question. It's February the 9th. Tomorrow, teams are going to show up for pitchers and catchers and get that season along. And if I'm looking at future scheduling, if we do in the Olympics, I believe there's some baseball shows starting to come our way on Sundays, no?
That's right. We have not only baseball, we also have the World Baseball Classic, which there's plenty to discuss for that. We're about a month away. We'll roll that right into spring training, and then before we know it, the end of March is here and the beginning of MLB season.
Look at that, people. And by the way, some players can't play because of insurance issues here. No insurance required for me and Tom to do shows for Sunday here at the Grid, and we'll be doing that. Thanks for joining us, Tom. We'll be right back.
Cheated.
No, they're not saying
Right?
that. Well, they're not, but they're not really giving a reason on crap.
The only two of the voters I've seen, maybe it's more, came out and said why they didn't vote for him. And they said, I'm limited to 3 votes.
Yeah.
And I will always pick a player over a coach or an owner.
Right.
By the way, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because that's the guy saying, I'm not afraid of you knowing who I picked. I'm going to tell you why I picked him.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
The money line keeps climbing, though, if you'll notice.
Yes.
The point spread hasn't moved. It's been locked in at 4.5. The money line, though, keeps creeping up, man. It was 210, and it's funny because normally you figure the number would be correlated, right? It's like, all right, the money line, the point spread's this, that means the money line is that, which tells us there's a lot of money line plays coming in on Seattle.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Adding Hunter doesn't instantly fix its woes, it paper cuts them. He helps their perimeter defense in spacing, but Sacramento still lacks a true star and parts that they have to move. Hunter and Sacramento won't save the season, but this move tells you the Kings have officially given up on its aspirational stars and doubling down on depth as their future.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
They actually play Miami and nobody else. Bum after bum after bum. Now, the key ingredient to this clause, though, Joe, college football undefeated season. Oh, no, wait, Donnie. You go undefeated in the regular season, you got to win like 4 games to win that championship. No, you don't. It's regular season. Notre Dame, the kings of duck, and say, hey, we're going to play the easiest schedule ever. They got it.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
College basketball takes center stage. Yes, we are getting closer and closer to March Madness. But I got to tell you, Saturday night, I was just checking scores. I'm like, oh, look at this. Of course, Duke's up 41-29 at the break on the road against UNC. They're the much better team. They'll be able to coast to a victory. I didn't find out till Sunday morning when I woke up just checking scores that North Carolina had won that game 71-68 because a second half saw UNC score 42 points and Duke only scored 27. An exciting game all the way through. It saw UNC win. And then we had the controversy about water bottles and punches to the head and how upset Duke was. And I'll tell you this. Hey, Duke, you don't want that to happen? Win the basketball game. How about that, Joe?
We had this happen a couple of years ago at Wake Forest when Wake Forest on a random Tuesday night, I think it was, Donnie, beats Duke and Wake Forest storms the court, right? And Shire's complaining that, oh, this is absurd. Guys are pushing our players. This has got he has been so anti-storming the court. Well, of course they're storming the court because it's Duke. So you should be expected. You don't want him to storm the court? Very simple. Win the game. It's that easy. And nobody will storm the court for you except your own fans when you end up winning. Even that's hilarious, Donnie, in its own right. But you're Duke, you're supposed to win. What are you storming the court for?
Again, it's a rivalry. It's fun. You shouldn't have that. $50,000 is going to stop anybody from storming a court at that point. No. But I do see the point where it's okay, it's a little bit unsafe, but it's also part of the pageantry. You give and the take. Simple medicine there, Duke. Just win the basketball game. Don't collapse in the second half so they can run on the court and move on here. How about Michigan yesterday taking on Ohio State, the team up north? 82-61 on the road. Michigan goes and hammers Ohio State yesterday. Boy, that team can score, Michigan, huh?
Yeah, well, and they do a great job of dominating teams they are much better than, and they were much better than Ohio State all year long. I mean, listen, this is what Michigan does. The idea that they're winning by double digits and sometimes by 20 or more against, especially on the road. I think that's been the most impressive thing with Michigan is what they have been able to do on the road, Donnie, against, in hostile environments. Michigan State, now Ohio State. Very impressive stuff here by Michigan, who, listen, Arizona, Michigan, right? You go down the list. There are, Houston. There are teams that are very good on the road, and that is a pretty good indicator of number one seeds and teams likely to be able to run the table for a national championship.
Carmelo's son having a little bit of difficulties at Syracuse. By the way, is it Keon Anthony or Kion Anthony? What's the pronunciation on this, Joe? Do you know?
I believe it's Kion, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong. Either way, Carmelo's not happy that his kid ain't playing. And he's also not happy with the coach who decided it was his decision to sit him in that Virginia game. And they promptly, lost that game and got blown out. But something's going on. I don't know if it was because of, I would like to think he wasn't sitting the kid because of what Dad had said earlier in the week about it ain't working with this coach here. But, as a head coach, if you're alienating the Syracuse basketball greats of the past, you are that's a lot of checks and alumni money coming into that university. I don't know how much longer he's going to last.
But sometimes we talk about legacies, hey, my dad went to school, and nobody remembers your dad, but you went there anyway, and you're a good basketball player. Carmelo Anthony is one of the most recognizable figures in basketball, and went to Syracuse and won a championship. So the thought process would be well, Melo did it as a freshman. What's wrong with his son who now can't see the court because he's not playing good basketball at this point right now? That is a tough legacy to uphold. I'm sure the kid will be fine. Maybe he doesn't transfer out, but the tweet there from Carmelo is you know what? Usually could have went the other way. I'm pulling my son right out of, Syracuse University. He didn't say that. It's you know what, man? Adversity can be good. So maybe the kid sticks it out with Syracuse, and we'll see how that turns out. Not a great season, certainly, for Syracuse going on right now. But Arizona and Kansas, they're going to do battle tonight from the Fog. A 2.5-point favorite for Arizona on the road, looking to keep that unbeaten streak going here, Joe. What do you think?
Will he or won't he? Darren Peterson, right? Is he playing? Yeah. And if so, Donnie, for how long? Because I can't remember the last time we've actually seen this kid play for more than, a half maybe, and play in spurts. They are going to need him if they're going to take a run here in Arizona. Even at home, they're going to need him against Arizona, who will absolutely bring everything they have to win this game at Fog Allen.
St. John's looks like they might be able to roll to a victory tonight, Joe. 14.5-point favorite, but points should be aplenty. 162.5 listed here. 6:30 start tonight.
Yeah, listen, Patino versus Patino again. Xavier hasn't played in 10 days, so they are very well rested for this.
At the Garden tonight, the world's most famous arena. Hour number 2 coming up on the early line next.